So, this podcast is called Pride Goes Before a Fall. And what does that even mean? When I was growing up, I was the youngest of 4 children and the only girl. And sometimes I felt like I was more monitored and had more expectation placed upon me than my brothers. One of the things that Mum used to say was she didn't want me to get big-headed, or if you blew your own trumpet, as the saying went, you were considered big-headed. You weren't supposed to say, look at me, haven't I done well, even when you had. And if you had parents that didn't actually tell you how well you'd done or praise you for an achievement, and you weren't supposed to talk about it yourself and self-praise, then basically things went unrecognised, and that can be difficult when you're a child. I think a lot of children, when they're growing up, just really want to be recognised by their parents, just really want to be feeling like they're valued and that they're achieving good things and people are proud of them. And sometimes that can be difficult if that doesn't happen. Now, my mum and I were very different people. Mum was not one to show affection, not one to say I love you, and that was difficult because as a child and all through my life, I've been somebody that has needed affection and actively sought affection, and also given it in good measure to my men and also to my children and grandchildren. I think it is important to show people that you care for them and also to show that you're proud of them. I've always said to my kids when they've achieved something, especially if they've really had to tough it out to achieve what they wanted to achieve, that I've always said to them that I was proud of them. I remember one time when my mum was visiting, I think, and Lauren came out into the room and she had a really nice little outfit on. I said, gosh, you look lovely today, darling. And she said, thank you. And my mum turns around and says, you shouldn't say that sort of thing to Lauren. And I said, why? And she said, because she'll get a big head. She'll get vain because you keep telling her how beautiful she is. And I just shook my head and didn't really make much of a response from what I remember. But to me, if your child comes in, no matter the age, and she's in her late 30s, if she looks good, I'll say to her, gosh, you look lovely today, darling. And I think it's nice for people to say that. I don't see any problem with that. In fact, I remember in one of my jobs, there was a woman that I worked with who was, how would I describe her, a bit of a hippie maybe. And I remember coming in and somebody had something really nice on that day. And I said, gosh, you look lovely today. I love that outfit. And she turned around and she says, it's not appropriate for you to be commenting on a co-worker's appearance. I said, why? She said, well, it's just not appropriate. And I thought, if you can't tell somebody that they look nice, there's something wrong with the world, really. So, yeah, I think if we achieve something that's difficult, if we, like for myself, when I went to university, I had to go on the Domestic Purposes Benefit, or DPB, and I said to my children, I gathered them together and said, look, we're going down to Christchurch. Mum is going to be doing a social work degree, and so we'll have less time to do things. In order to be able to fund that and to be able to live, I've had to go on the benefit, but as a means to an end. And I just wanted them to know that it wasn't a long-term lifestyle choice for me to be on the benefit. And so I decided, after consultation with one of my tutors, that I would try to do a 4-year degree in 3.5 years. And I did it. I slogged really hard in that first year. I did first and second year papers in that first year. And at the end of it, when I stood with my fellow graduates, waiting to be up on stage to receive my degree and my cap and my gown, I felt proud of myself. I felt really proud of myself. Not just for the degree that I had just achieved, but also for the way that I had fought back from a difficult marriage, an abusive marriage, where I was constantly told that I was nothing, that I would be nothing and be in the gutter if I left him, to being somebody that could stand up with pride on a stage and receive a degree, something they would never be able to do themselves. And yeah, I felt proud of myself, of what I had achieved, that I would never have imagined that I could have achieved a few years before, as my confidence had been shattered, as I'd been held down and held back and manipulated and controlled. I should have had a Bachelor of Broadcasting Communications degree, but he would not allow me to put in the hours and the time for the study that was required in order to achieve that. So unfortunately I didn't get that. But I did get my social work degree several years later, and I was proud of that, and I think rightly so. I don't see any harm in somebody being proud of their efforts. It's a difficult thing to be studying a course like social work or anything. It is hard, and especially when you're also looking after children, it can be quite difficult. The other day, my husband and I were at home, and he was in the other room, and he came in while I was cooking, and he said to me, "I just wanted to say something to you." And I thought, oh gosh, what have I done? And he said, "No, you haven't done anything." He said, "I actually just wanted to say how proud of you I am." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, for everything that you do, for everything that you have to cope with your arthritis in your feet and in other parts of your body, with the operations that you've had, with Parkinson's, and with everything else that's going on. And you're also helping your daughter with some pretty important stuff." He said, "I'm just really proud of you, the way you have managed things. And I just wanted to let you know." And that was the nicest thing that he could have done, to tell me he was proud of me. You know, it means a lot when somebody that you really love takes the time out to tell you that they're proud of you. And it's great. I'm also, at the moment, helping my daughter with some complex things in relation to her separation. And again, I was proud of the fact that I could use my experience and my qualifications to help her to complete the processes that needed to happen, to get a lawyer, to do the documentation, to sort out some of the problems that the separation had caused. So I've been walking alongside her for months now, trying to help her with things, and it's complex. But I do feel quite a lot of pride in the fact that despite my having Parkinson's, despite my having some memory issues and some cognitive issues starting to creep in, I'm able to exert enough brain power to get through talking with lawyers and working out things that are quite complicated in relation to helping my daughter. And to me that shows that I'm not doing too badly. And I'm also proud of the fact that ever since my husband and I got together, we've been a unit. There's been just the two of us. We haven't really needed anybody else. But when we were moving here to this newer house, we've been in just on 4 years this year, and I said to my husband, with us getting older, it would be good to get to know the neighbours, because we may need them as support down the track. And so while our house was still being redecorated, we popped in to have a look at the progress, and we knocked on the neighbour's door while we were there and introduced ourselves and just said who we were and when the truck was coming with everything, so that they could get their cars out if they needed to. And it's the best thing we could have done. We immediately established a really good rapport. They were appreciative of the fact that we warned them that the moving truck would be coming up later that day. And it started off a good friendship. And that's important. It's important to have those sorts of supports. So I think, since I retired, I have really pushed myself to do things that I enjoy. But even before moving here, even if I enjoyed something, I think I went through a phase of I just couldn't be bothered. It was too hard to do anything extra in my life, and so I didn't. But I made a conscious effort when we were moving here to think of things that I would enjoy and to go out and do them. So Mondays I now go and play cards in the morning for a couple of hours. On a Monday, Wednesday and Friday I do aqua jogging and a bit of swimming, and about 3 times a week I go and play bowls for several hours. So all those things are pretty big, take a lot of brain power, a lot of concentration, a lot of stamina. And I come home from going to bowls sometimes and I'm absolutely knackered. And but it's a worthwhile kind of knackeredness, if you like. You don't mind being exhausted when you've had a good day and you've done your best. And life's not so bad at the moment, but it was really special when my husband said to me he was proud of me. Ultimately, if I can leave my mark and people can say, I was proud to be her husband, I was proud to be her daughter or son or daughter-in-law or friend or cousin. If people can say that they were proud of me and proud to be a special person in my life, then that's a pretty good thing to be remembered for. So this has been Sue for Parkies and me, my journey with Parkinson's. Kia kaha, be brave, be strong, be you.